And there we are. Hello, everybody. We are back.
We're back.
For our recap, and I'm just going to change the Act 3 off the overlay because we're not actually. This is our thoughts and spoilers. So if you have not played this game, there will be spoilers. If you're playing it, there will be spoilers. If you're playing and running it, you might get some ideas. So just as a heads up right at the front, there will be spoilers. I will be telling our players spoilers of what was happening as well in the background. I told the players a little bit on the break, between the ending and between coming back to this, that, yeah, they were pirates. So the pirates were there pretty much the entire time, and there was also that they were all infected. So, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
So there wasn't two aliens on the ship. There was one alien or life form on the ship. The neomorph. You could have get infected with more of them. You could have actually. There was other things you could have actually set off to have other people infected. If you didn't take your injection, you could have actually gotten infected. I think that happened to Dr. Oblong's character. Like, that was going to happen to Dr. Oblong's character because he didn't trust the vaccination.
No, I took the vaccination.
Who didn't? Someone didn't take the vaccination?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Wilson did not.
Yeah.
Wilson was talking to Clayton when all the vaccinations were being passed out.
Okay.
And then the doctor exploded. And they just didn't get it.
Yeah. So that could have happened. Oh, no, yes, you did get the vaccination. It didn't work. There was a percentage on each of one. Yes. So Dr. Oblong's character did take the vaccination. There was a percentage. It's very, 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 very small.
Of course.
But it did hit that percentage. And like a shift later, things start happening. And I thought, well, yeah. The vaccinations caused the abominations and caused rage, which Drakonyan was given a note about that one. Was it Drakonyan? No, it was Shay
Cham.
got the note. Yeah, Cham got the note about that one. Because Cham was turning into one of them.
As good as it did for Cham, though. Yeah.
Cham went out, the best of us.
Cham went down fighting everything in sight.
Also, I think Zaraeea, were you healed in the med lab?
Nope.
Who was healed in the med lab?
Not me.
Someone was healed in one of the med pods, I think.
I never even took damage.
Maybe I was.
I think you were.
I think you were. Yeah, you would have been infected by something, like the wound would have been infected over time. Because there was a dirty med pod.
That entire ship is a biohazard.
It is. The entire ship is a biohazard.
Just burn the whole ship. I was right. Burn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but money.
But burn it.
Money.
So, Crash, like, that's a little bit of the spoilers. There might be a bit more. What do people think of the system, at least? The Year Zero system, dice pool. I know we've stuffed up the combat quite a bit.
I think it makes it much harder to succeed, which is very fun, especially in the game. I feel like I don't recall exactly how Call of Cthulhu works, but I feel like this system is perfect for transpiring into that. Even though you have so many chances, there's still such a low chance of it being a success. Like adding a little bit more to that horror aspect of the game, which is fun.
With the stress dice, or with the
stress dice, and also the fact that, unlike in a lot of TTRPGs like games, you have like a certain number, and like you roll that number. But this one, you're given a lot of dice, and even though you have all these dice, you can still absolutely not get a single success.
Yeah.
As to the fact of like, you may be really good at this, but fate still isn't on your side.
Or you can be really bad and still get a success.
I've seen the numbers. Like, I don't do math very well, but I've seen the numbers when like every dice you add gives you just that little bit extra, but it's not much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it starts with a 1 in 6 because you got a d6 and you got one extra, like one to get through. But the numbers,
Like 16% chance at start.
Yeah.
With one die.
yeah, but it doesn't go up by much for each dice. It might think yes, great, but it really doesn't go up a huge amount. But it doesn't really punish for failing rolls very often. It's only when you push the rolls, which we really didn't do very much.
We didn't have to. We got pretty lucky when we needed
Sham
to.
had like 15 dice for his strength rolls. He really didn't need to.
Yeah.
But yeah,
In a virtual desktop, it's all right, but there's one thing I don't like about like dice pool games is Sham having to roll 15 d6s on a table is really annoying. Really annoying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for most
like
games,
there's
like, I
at
love
the end of the
that.
day, there's other ways to simulate these odds that you don't need to have 15 damn dice in your hand. At the end of the day, it's still an odds simulator, and there's other ways to do it with dice that you can still simulate these exact same odds with different dice, and it's not as just cumbersome, physically cumbersome. Even just
And
even in Roll20, just looking at it, you just see all these dice and stuff. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, and the system itself is pretty solid, but the thing is, if you're only going for the sixes or the sixes and the ones with two different colors of dice, if you do that with a normal dice pool, like most DMs have, there's like a bunch of colors, it's gonna be a particular mess. If you don't have like black dice and yellow dice, or red dice and white dice, or whatever it is, it starts getting hard. And especially if you need to have like 5 people around a table, each with their own pool of d6s, it's it's a bit too much to ask. And like Call of Cthulhu, since Zaraeea brought this up, which is like, each player needs a pair of dice. It's like 2 dice you can play through the game, and then it's good if the game master has like a couple d6s, a couple d4s for damage, that kind of thing. But otherwise, it's like 1d percentile each. We're good to go.
yeah. Like you do get with this starter set, 10 dice of each. So that comes with it,
Okay.
and they can be bought separately if you wanted to. But I do understand that.
But yeah, it's still if Sham
That's a lot of
is on 15 dice for his physical, plus he's on 8 stress, he's rolling 23. That's more than the game even provides, and that's literally you're rolling a bucket of dice.
I have seen before I used to stream, I used to watch Hyper RPG when they were really big back in the day, and they did a game called Corporate Sins, which was a Shadowrun game, and you had donations for dice, as in each dice was an extra d6, and there was a similar dice pool system, and they were getting like huge amounts of dice pools. I mean, we're talking the players could add their donation dice to rolls. So it's like, okay, so I've got like 12 dice on this roll. I'm going to add 15 chat dice. And then like the GM's like, oh, this is an opposed roll, so I'll match your 15 chat dice and I'll add 20 chat dice because I got bigger donations than you. And they were rolling massive amounts. But
That's
how they
insane.
got around it, they also had dice in boxes, like the clear dice boxes that you get when you buy the Chessex dice. They made those so you had 5 dice in that, or they had ones with 10 or ones with, and so they just chit and then put it on the table and count them. So they had it in sets as a way workaround for that, because they were talking about hundreds of dice. Like there was one episode where they had like someone donate so much money, like they had 100 dice for the GM, 150 dice for the GM, which they could then add to a roll. I know it was an over the top game, but that was how they worked with like having lots of dice, but having them in clear containers. But it's not really applicable to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another mechanic in this that I'm not a fan of now, having played with it, is stunts. When I first played with stunts, I thought they were cool, but now I find they're generic
Generic and kind of obnoxious.
Generic and kind of useless a lot of the time, rather than putting the time into giving a character another unique skill. Every character just gets this set of blandness.
Yeah.
And that's boring.
Yeah.
Real boring. Like, my character sheet had one unique skill and that's it. Everything else was just do the same as any other character. It doesn't, if maybe when you level up, you obviously get more of these unique skills and stuff like that. But if you want to have I know in this game, holding on to a character is not a really a big thing, but if you do have some games where you want a character that has uniqueness through mechanics, not just through your role playing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to provide any of that in this game.
This is a cinematic version, which is like the short version, so you can have campaign play, which you do have longer term. You're not going to lose a character in every half a session or that type of stuff. You're not going to accumulate as much stress either in the campaign play.
But
I was going to point out that, despite what you just said, I do feel like the game is not really trying to kill the characters as much as, let's say, first edition Dungeons and Dragons, or even Call of Cthulhu, where death is either death or insanity is bound to happen at some point. I feel like this game pushes you into playing under a lot of stress and under critical situations, but you don't die. You push on until you literally can no longer. And I think that is amazing. This is the only game that I actually see that, because in Call of Cthulhu, if you're you get a major wound or something, you're probably moved away and all right, you can't do anything. Just lie down and be helpless, and we will come back for you when you're feeling better. And in D&D, it's okay, now that you're back from negative hit points or 0 hit points in 5th edition, we will just heal you up and you're good to go, just like everyone else. And this game, it pushes you, it forces you to keep going, to keep struggling. And I think that is the greatest feeling that the Alien movies give us. And you can tell the guys behind this game are really big fans of the franchise and the vibe and that kind of horror, because they really achieve that feeling. When we were rolling stress dice, I started being preoccupied, not because stress dice bad, I'm gonna die, but because stress dice bad, I'm gonna do something bad, I'm gonna get more stress, and then later, and on one hand you want stress, but then I don't die, but at the same time it feels worse.
The snowballing stress mechanic is a good mechanic in the game for sure. It really puts the tension into the game. The stress mechanic is something that I really do like about this game. It really does help set the tone of the game.
And you came into it thinking, it's only a short play. I'm going to do stress for my first roll. It's no. The game's designed to give you that much stress.
Yeah, no, but I think that putting us under stress straight away made the game,
Yeah, it does.
And I GM'd a Call of Cthulhu one-shot recently to some friends, and they were playing fresh characters into a Call of Cthulhu game, and I was like, well, the sanity mechanic is not meant for a one-shot. So what did I do? I doubled down on all the insanity rolls. So it was even ordinary things that usually in Call of Cthulhu, if you pass the save, you take no sanity damage, or if you fail, you take 1d4. I was anything that requires a sanity check, you take at least 1 damage. And then other things, you take a d6 or 2d4 if it's too bad. Because then they actually feel like their sanity is being drained, and there is an actual chance that they will freak out during one shot. They start with full sanity, all of them, because they were all fresh new characters and all of that. But I wanted to push them within the span of 6 hours that the session was meant for.
Yeah, I don't know what the stress table is, or how big it is. But we seem to roll a lot of the same things.
You did.
It's not too big.
It's not too big. I'll actually give you access to it if I can find it. Oh no, you should have access to it.
It probably is in one in Panic or something like that. But yeah.
It's the 1 to 6 is nothing, or 1 to 5 is nothing. and then it
yeah.
starts going up. You seem
From
to
7
hit the
to
same.
15, yeah.
You seem to hit the same thing of like,
Nervous
like the
twitch
nervous
and-
twitch.
We got
and drop.
lots of
We
twitching.
got drop item. I think we
Yeah.
got drop item 3 times
Yeah.
as well.
But imagine that in combat.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I think if there was maybe more variance in the stress rather than it just seems.
I also sort of wish that the NPCs could just get stress levels so they could get stressed out. So
Yeah. I mean, I
So you-
tried to brush off that a bit more just because I knew you were going to be like I thought you might be picking them up later, so I didn't want to
Yeah.
give you stress levels already, like from that. But yeah, in theory, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely NPCs should be taking the stress as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I will say that like damage wise, the early things you faced, the beluga heads, the mutated people, they had a huge amount of hit points and
I could
armor
figure
stuff
that out.
compared to the alien who actually didn't have a huge amount of hit points. It was way more dangerous. Like I mean, they were actually both dangerous in different ways, really.
Getting thrown across space isn't great.
No, but that
No.
was just like thrown. It's like, well, normally that's just thrown across the room, but you're in space. There's nothing to hit, so it wasn't really a bad thing. So I wanted to try to like keep you in and not just throw you off into space. I think so. I wanted to try to keep that a bit like, okay, let's just throw you to the other ship, maybe, and it got you out of trouble. That was a little bit of a workaround, I thought.
Yeah.
I do like from a GM's point of perspective, the GM doesn't choose what the attack's going to be. It's a D6.
That's nice.
So
nice.
like everything's done by D6s. So like that's just like, okay, I don't want to like do a tail thing, but there's also always like the first one is usually just like snarl or scream, and it may cause a panic roll.
Which also goes in line with the movies because
Yeah.
the beasts have a kind of erratic behavior only to build up the tension that the cinema requires, basically. It's like if the beasts are too powerful and too intelligent, there's no plot. Like everybody dies.
Well, that said, they're also like I wasn't doing it all the time, but they can track you throughout the strip. They're hunting and things like that throughout the ducts of the ship. So if you're doing it full on, like the GM is moving them. Well, as you move, they're moving the monsters as well at the same pace around the ship. I just tried to keep that more off screen and then just like bring in something. And if you walked into it, like the alien coming out of the thing in the corridor, it's like, oh, okay, that's happening then. And then, like if you are watching, the players don't see the GM layer; they can only see their layer. It was sitting on the GM layer for a long time in that corridor. Like when you're in the lab, the med lab, that's what you could hear was that alien in that area. And as you left the med lab, I just put it there in the like at that vent thing. So when you came back, like, oh shit.
Yeah, and I mean the module seems to really work, and the overall plot has very good elements to it. It brings a lot of the base elements of the Alien franchise and all of that. I do feel that the kind of overdid it a bit. Like there's everything, which is a bit too much. Could have been more streamlined, a bit more dry. But the thing that worries me about this game in particular is that what would the replayability on this system be? Because there's only so much you can do within the universe of the Alien franchise. Like it's literally just 6 movies, a couple of novels that mostly just help tell the same thing as the movies. Like, there's not a whole universe of lore like the Forgotten Realms or the Cthulhu Mythos or whatever.
I don't know. There's like a lot of. You could also go explore the planets. Like you could just make up stuff. It's like sci-fi universe at that point.
Yeah. So I've been playing Alien Fireteam's computer game, which is actually based off one of the books We got rated by someone that's what they play and they know their alien stuff, and they also tell me this is actually based off one of their novels, and it was really good. You could base that into the alien system, like you bring that into it. So it is a big RP, so you could build into that world. And this isn't really based on any of the books. It isn't based on any of the movies. It has the feel of them, but it's not based on any of
Technically
them.
based on all of them at the same time.
Well, yeah, it's not referencing, but it has that feel of them all. Like the Montaro is the same ship in Alien 1, the Nostromo. And the Kronos, which you're in, is the same ship design as the Prometheus ship. So the second box set is Destroyer of Worlds, and that feels very much like the second movie. Because you're playing Marines, you're doing a bit more gun-ho. The basis of that one is like you're playing Marines, your company or your whatever, not the company, but like your nation that you follow is moving out, and the moon that you're on is being handed over to someone, but you're there to get everybody or to get important stuff out, and people have gone missing, or people
It's more action based.
yeah, it's very, very much more action based. You're actually hunting, I think, another group of Marines. But of course, this is Alien, so there's other stuff going on.
Yeah. Which I mean, I think that is the main element that gets old pretty quick, because in the movies, it's like, oh, there's these things that we didn't know existed, and then you find more of these things that we didn't know existed, but somebody knew, and then again, these things we didn't know they existed except for that guy, and it keeps recycling. Like it gets old pretty quickly.
Yeah, but I do agree. Like the replayability of like a scenario like this, maybe you could like play as a different character with different motivations.
But knowing
Yeah.
the whole thing, it's
Yeah.
From a game mother perspective, you believe the game system is flexible enough that you can like do many different things with it. Then
Probably not. Like that's really reaching to replay it as a player, as a different player, as a different character, because it doesn't seem to have that.
no, I mean the game system, not the module.
The game system is open enough. So what I know of the game system is like this game system is used by almost all of Freely Publishing stuff. So this is Mutant Zero system, or so the Year Zero system. The stress dice isn't in all of them, but you have variables in them. So the system itself is very, very adaptable. The setting is adaptable, that you could put different things in. The 3 box sets, this one plays like Alien 1, which is just Chariot of the Gods. Destroyer of Worlds plays like Aliens, and Heart of Darkness, I think, is the third one, and that plays like I think the third movie, I think. So they have some adaptability in the play style, from like the horror and the suspense to like the gun-ho and all the other bits and pieces and the intrigues. I do want to ask, what are people's thoughts of the personal motivations?
I thought they were fun.
Yeah.
yeah.
They definitely gave you like a very solid direction to go in.
And
Of how
the
your
way-
character-
They were like a fun take on railroading the party, but having the party railroad themselves.
Yeah.
and especially how they evolve. Like at the
Yeah.
start, you've got just basic motivations, which sort of develop, and you may have played opposite to how your motivations actually develop in the end, which actually gives you conflict and stuff within your character and things like that. So it's I like them.
I will say, for those that got into the NPC characters, I had to add further act motivations, because the NPC characters only have one motivation. But I kind of borrowed from motivations of other characters to try to put them into where they should fit, and still amp the conflict, put the conflict in, and if it wasn't going to be. So I think Dr. Flynn, that was the one I did the most for the third act.
It did feel like a very large pivot, but I took it.
Yeah,
Over
because
here.
otherwise, all 4 characters have got the same bloody motivation, pretty much. And I had
Get
to
off the
try.
ship.
Yeah. So I had to try to put some.
I mean,
Yeah.
mine was stay on the ship.
Yeah, but to save the stuff was the whole thing. I think the 2 culprits had to save the stuff, and either save the ship or save just the biomaterial and the data. I can't remember Leah Davies one at the end.
The one at the end was try to kill these things and save the day, which is very much what I was trying to do, and I did it. I killed one of these things, and I lived to see the end of the story.
And Flynn's I changed to like be more of a destroy these things because you've been betrayed. This can't get loose type situation. Because the idea is to have that conflict at the end. The pirates. What did you think about those coming at the end?
That was so stupid.
It could have been played out differently. If we had time, you can actually play that out as a full-on thing. But I wanted to cut it then and there. But they are there.
Yeah, but it was
always
so
in the
bad.
background
Always.
as that sense of blip.
There's already so much going on the ship.
Yeah,
and
there was
finally
no-
feel that we know what's going on. We know what we need to do. We just need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
And then blam, something entirely new and uncontrollable happens, and we're
Hey,
like,
that's literally the Alien movies, though, in a
okay.
nutshell.
Yeah, but that was too in a short little one play like this. The focus needs to be
What would you rather?
what it
been
was.
orcs?
Like just having this random thing right at the end come in to throw focus onto all these people with guns just board your ship. It felt way out over the top and ridiculous.
It is an option. It doesn't need to be played.
Yeah, okay.
So it does it's really weird that there's mandatory events. This is kind of open in a weird way. It's an open system in how it's written from the GM's perspective, where it's not railroaded, but it kind of is, where there's mandatory events which happen, which you need to react to, but there's also other events which you can put in or not. And so the body in the hallway could have been anywhere. The body with the head, the shotgun and the head blown off, could have been anywhere. It's an optional, but it's also a way of giving you a gun and giving you a hint wait, something's wrong here.
yeah, I love that kind of narrative element. It's we know there is an event to be triggered. It doesn't have to be anywhere specific. It just needs to achieve a certain feel. And when the players are playing through these events, they have absolutely no idea. To us, it sounded like that corpse was a part of the room, that android, and not an event. And I think that is
The android, the dead android Ava, could have been again anywhere in the ship, or could have been moving around the ship as well. That was actually one of the bleeps that I had. Was the android moving around the ship. And you can also restore her, and she gives you a bit more what's going on, and that the corporates are against you, and they set you up. The vaccinations don't work. The android has all the spoilers to then
just like
bring up the
how-
third event, but you didn't bring her back. So shit. So I had to give it
just like how Lucas could have come out of any of us. I think that's a solid writing to an RPG module.
I don't know if I told Zaraeea about I think and I think I might have told Dr. Oblong, but when we did the pre-show, because we do a meet before we do this the week before, I got everyone just to roll a D6 or got a D4, and it came up Dr. Oblong was going to be Lucas. We just betrayed each one at the D&D game,
And then he betrays us at the
so
end.
I don't want to have him playing it again.
but it turns out I betrayed everyone at the end of this anyway.
Yeah. You end up playing it the corp as well, one of the corps. So yeah,
Lucas My boy.
Yeah.
Go forth.
Yeah.
My first character.
I will
I
also
think
say,
they won in the end.
yeah, Lucas is also in Act 3. Really, like, Lucas and the corpse are absolutely against each other. And so if Lucas
Seems
makes
like
it to
it.
Act 3, that's what you fight. Like, that's the two sides. Lucas on one side, the corpse on the other, and you really one sabotage the other. And it's, yeah.
The horrible thing is, all the good things I did as Lucas came back and it made a terrible time to be Wilson.
Yeah. What else is there? There was other things as well. The drawing cards I don't think works on Roll20. I just might
Not
be
very
just
well.
I'm not familiar with it as much. As around a table, having cards is really, really cool, I think. And you just draw from back.
Super
Okay,
simple.
bang, 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 bang. Who's got which card? The personal genders around the table, I think might be a bit hard, because the personal genders, people might see that someone might have gotten 2 cards, which is what happens.
That was a thing. I didn't know.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was giving more than 1 card to people, and I also gave an extra card to OblivionShay when it's like, oh, by the way, you're infected. So if there's time you want to rage, like, that's going to take over, because that's the thing too.
The main thing was that I was given
The Lucas
Davis's card for a second there.
Yeah, that was a and again, that's me not being familiar with everything. But it's the trying to find these.
Yeah,
But
that might be a thing, like the way that we did have Lucas. If it's you get given an extra card at a table, like after playing a couple of games of this, you get so wary of anyone throughout the. Suddenly the GM just goes, and now you get an extra one of these agenda cards. Nothing to worry about. Everyone else.
Sus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's silly.
It's very, and it's going to kind of be very obvious as
And
well.
especially if it has to come out in the middle of play. It's not like something that you could do at the end or the start of the session to go, here's yours. Like, sometimes you have to hand out an agenda card in the middle of play.
Yeah. The NPCs also have their own cards. So the NPCs also have a card with essentially just their bits and pieces, like the really core base stats, which for a GM could be really useful. I wasn't really running off that. You've also got the weapons as cards. And one of the things which I think also with the personal gender cards, going back to that, is there wasn't just Lucas's card as being an extra. It was mentioned. Something 996, Order 996 was mentioned, which was another card. Because again, not everyone has the same agendas, and one person is on working for a corporation who's told them to do this, and that was the order. Yeah.
Which is, by the
Why
way,
does that have
one
to be a
thing.
freaking backstabber each time?
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, one thing that I really love about the Alien franchise, and they also delivered this here, which is like corporations are evil.
Yes.
Like, corporations are bad. That message is present throughout, and we get it. It's nice. It's well done. Except for, I mentioned this off the record, I think, but like in Alien Resurrection, the worst one by far, they mentioned that Weyland-Yutani, the evil corporation of Alien, was bought by Walmart. That movie came out in 1997. Like, yes, they bothered writing that line into the movie, and this movie takes place 200 years after the first one. So it's like, oh, right, in between the future and the far future, Walmart bought this mega fictional corporation that we came up just to talk about mergers, because it's Weyland-Yutani. It talks about a merger. In Prometheus, it's still only Weyland Corp, but then it becomes Weyland-Yutani, and it also talks about how mergers are seen as bad. It's basically NCAP paradise, which for most people is just a nightmare.
So,
True.
Draconian, between the last episode and this one, has watched all the Alien movies.
I did, yeah.
Zaraeea hasn't watched any of them. Is that correct?
I don't watch scary movies.
I
I've
don't.
seen
I,
a few
I'm the
of
same. I don't like them. I have been having them in the background while prepping. I don't. I've had some rough
I've seen
nights.
I've seen one scary movie to its completion, and it was The Conjuring.
No.
And no,
Yeah.
not doing it.
Draconian. You keep on saying 6 movies though. There's more.
Yeah.
I
There's
corrected
more.
you with 8, but I'm wrong myself.
There's a lot of movies that are like partially canon.
Alien vs Predator.
Oh, right.
1
Yeah.
and 2. Predator 1, 2. I think there's maybe a 3. Prey also in that. Also same universe. And also Blade Runner. Same
Yep.
universe.
Yes, same universe, but like not Alien franchise.
But-
And I've
Yeah.
heard from somewhere that the Predator crossover was like a parallel universe, like so it kind of had a separate timeline. I didn't dive into it. My focus was Alien. Like I like Predator, but Alien is horror. I love horror, and Predator is action. So yeah, I focused on Alien. Blade Runner is nice though. I watched the 2 movies. Not my favorite kind of movie though, but they're pretty good.
So there is a Blade Runner game as well from Free League Publishing using similar systems. And you can play androids in that one as well.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty good.
So I've got that, and we can do that in a future game as well. And it doesn't have all the same things of this because every game that they do is kind of very much customed into how they do things. But they do have that same massive like fandom to or like appreciation of the source material, it seems. At least from what I hear from others. Like they know their stuff, like they knew Aliens and they really were able to recreate it. So I hear that for Blade Runner, they've been able to recreate that one as well really well, and as well as the One Wing, which is their what is it? Lord of the Rings game. Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Which is really outside the tradition of RPGs, if you think about it, because like D&D is it pays a lot of homage to Lord of the Rings and some other fantasy of the time, but it started off trying to be kind of its own thing. Like it doesn't try to play Middle-earth, it just reflects Middle-earth. So much so that they had intellectual property problems with the Tolkien estate at the time and all of that. And then you think about Call of Cthulhu. Well, sure, it derives from Lovecraft directly, but then all the Cthulhu mythos came after Lovecraft. Like the idea of a mythos as a collective and a unified world of sorts, it came afterwards. And then Call of Cthulhu is like, well, let's turn this into a gamified kind of thing, but it doesn't try to play the same. So much so that Pulp Cthulhu became very popular.
But that still drives off the same mythos which has been created since from drawing out. There's Cthulhu Awakens that has gone back to the source material, the original Lovecraft source material, and made their own mythos from that again, which so it'll be separate to the other Cthulhus that most people will know.
Yeah.
Back to this. Shall I try and come back to this? Any other thoughts on any other like things that you'd like of how the game starts or any other processes? Like what other people like? What are the thoughts of like?
I think that like the actual paths or kind of the objectives that are given to the players would be good for newer players that are getting into the role-playing style, because it kind of was like, hey, role play like this, do this, this is what you want to do.
It's
Without
really good to pick and play. Very little explanation, unified system, characters are ready to go and not complex. Character sheets are very simple. You don't have to read a bunch of abilities like Oblong pointed out. It's like you can do one thing and these things that everybody can do. That's it. Go play, have fun.
What would you think about doing a longer running game though? Of course, you'd accumulate less stress over time. Your motivations will be not as quick, type thing.
I think it definitely has merit. There's like the shifts and different things, so like you'd have more time, and I probably less immediate threats that are always seeming like it's the worst day ever.
Yeah, the issue though is that since it drives from movies, which are meant to be fast-paced. I mean, I'm pretty sure if it were a novel, like the original one, the alien wouldn't have had to. I mean, I know it's based on a novel, but I never read it. I don't know anybody who has. I'm pretty sure the alien wouldn't like grow up to full size in a matter of a couple of hours, because that serves the narrative of a movie and the length of a movie. For a campaign, we could certainly do things like taking their time. Like, okay, this thing disappeared. Are we going to sleep now? You know, sleep becomes pretty important over the long run. And
yes.
I would love to see how character creation is in this game, because we skip that to be fast, to follow the format of our chronicles. But I think that
there is none for these ones.
Creation,
for these, there isn't any. I actually haven't even looked at character creation for this game, like for the rules themselves. I have not even looked at them.
But I read the book a little, and it does feel like it would be a lot of fun to make my own character to suffer in this universe.
Well, what about having, say, make your own characters, but giving them the motivations, like those secret motivations, and playing something like this with those already pre-made? So you're making your own character, but you just the GM will just like give out the motivations for like, say that's the wrong ones. So like this is Davis's, like this would have been Davis's, but this is now your motivations for your character.
The GM would have to match it.
Yeah.
Well, they'd have have to know what kind of character the player's trying to play to make sure that you didn't just go, hey, you've created this character that you want to play, and here's a motivation that does not work at all, and now you're not having fun playing a character you wanted to play because they would play a different kind of character.
Yeah, but at the same time, the GM might as well just like create something or adapt a little the base motivation just to fit the character. I think it would work well.
I would think that like you'd build it basically like your role in the ship is going to be similar to like your class in like another system. So you're like sitting there like you're the corporate man. No one's gonna all be a party of druids, so you're gonna have like one, maybe two corporate people.
You obviously don't have much fun in your D&D groups, because full parties of thieves and full parties of wizards is bloody great fun. Full parties of clerics, amazing.
Look, if you have a group of like 5 people and they're all clerics, you can have like one death cleric, one grave cleric, one like knowledge cleric, and one life.
So you can do the same thing with druids. I love me some druids.
Yeah, a game of all corpos in this would be freaking hilarious.
It'd be bureaucracy. It would be a bureaucracy. We ran a game. I think it was Pathfinder or D&D game for the circus group, which we were in a cult of bureaucracy. And the opening scene was us at the boardroom table in a meeting, and we were raising notes. We all had positions in the bureaucracy of the cult. We had fundraising, we had diplomacy, non-diplomacy, and like all the bits and pieces in that. And it was just bureaucracy. It was funny. It was fun.
Like a group of all corpse people would essentially just be a PR team. Like one person's like public relations, made for talking.
It sounds like something.
Another person's
Karsh,
like,
that sounds like something that would make Terry Pratchett really proud.
Like we got the people person, then we got the person who does all the cameras and stuff for the PR team, and then we got the person who drives them everywhere for the PR team, and then you got the person who's the bodyguard of the PR team, and it's just a PR team.
So the episode I think was called the mini thing. It was about 2 episodes I think. Was called the Cult of 7. So it's in our previous stuff, but it was weird. But you can play multiple. Like we used to play with 10 players for my face-to-face group. So we had multiples. We had double ups. We had 2 or even 3 of the same class, and it can work. I think doing a more shadow one of like having a specialty might work better. Like I'm this person, I'm the tech, I'm the pilot, I'm the corp, and etc. Like, and that's how this has been kind of brought out. That might work a little bit better. I haven't had a look at the characters in the Destroyer of Worlds because that is a military one, but I even think they're specialists in their own fields in the military. And of course, there might be like a corp in that as well, because of course there is one. What about like I had a thought when I first saw this. Sorry?
Oh, I'm sure the GM would have to, just like any starting campaign, would have to guide the character creation a little in that sense. So, like, okay, we will be doing an adventure, and for this adventure, I need a full party that basically somebody needs to be an android, somebody needs to be corporate agent, and we need one pilot. If we have more players, and you can decide who's going to be who, you can create your pilot, you can create your corporate agent. But we need those roles to be filled in the initial party at least, so the story works. It's very simple stuff. It still allows for a lot of creativity. And I'm pretty sure I would play the pilot again.
we're actually doing something similar with our Scum and Villainy game, where we're on a ship and like we go, okay, these are the classes, and the classes are essentially doctor, tough guy, or captain, speaker. Like you've got all those classes. Like, okay, this is what you need on the ship. So we're filling it out by filling those positions essentially on a ship. But back to the motivations. Would it be a suggestion of having like the players write out, like say two sets of 3 motivations, and you put them in a pool?
Oh.
So everyone draws your motivations.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It would work really well for like a free-form campaign, I think.
I mean, it might not be what you thought.
I would do that before character.
Yeah. Before character might
I
be a
would
bit
do that
better.
before.
Yeah. A little bit like there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying you do that before character creation?
Am I? Yeah, because I find character. Am I going? Okay, I find character creation like really fun. I guess at least for me. So I would take that like as a child. Okay, two character creations, and I kind of wanted to play this one kind of thing. How do I create my character so this idea that I kind of was looking into would go with these creations, and it just makes it at least a bit more fun and a bit more challenging to create that kind of character, which is one of my other ways to go about it, I guess.
Yeah, but that
I
way,
agree with that.
That way, you're going in there with. I think that works even better to have like that as before character creation, and you have like this is kind of my character arc already of my motivations or whatever. But you have that in front. The players are putting them into a bowl, and then drawing out randomly which ones, and then doing your character based off that. Like I just like the hidden motivations. I think it's a really, really cool system, like subsystem.
Yeah. I mean, my motivations were pretty obvious.
Drugs.
I was looking for a thrill, then I was looking for drugs, and then I was looking to burn things up. A pretty straightforward character, I would say. And at the start, I thought the motivations of others were as simple as mine. But then I learned that they absolutely weren't. And I was like,
that simple motivation.
am I getting the short end of the stick, or am I getting like the cherry on the cake here? Because simple motivations are king.
Yeah.
You have the simple motivation, and it was like the good motive. Like I was doing like 4D chess over to the side here, and like you were just like, thrill.
I just want to say the one that he failed on, the one that Leah Davis failed on was the second act, which was take drugs now, which was in combat. Like we started in combat, and the motivation was you need to take drugs now. You need a fix, and that was a bit of a hard. That's the only one who's like it was really, yeah.
The Cham's motivations were just like, hey, these guys are your family. And then I was just like, protect them with your life. And I was like, all right, man. Okay.
And you
Like-
did it, man. You did it. You absolutely did it, man.
Like, okay, so the person that Lucas was pretending to be had like very easy motivations, which essentially robbed this place blind.
Holy shit.
Oh.
Anything for money.
Her whole thing was like she was going to basically get all the money she could out of this thing so she could send money back to her dying brother.
Oh my god.
But Lucas's whole thing was sabotage everything. Learn about everything you can, and then destroy
Wait, so you
it.
don't have a brother?
No, Lucas is an android.
Cham would have helped you save your brother.
Lucas Lucas liked Cham. Look, Cham
Aw.
did what Lucas kind of wanted them to do, and Cham was also like one of the people that they could probably count on just helping them sabotage this company. But Lucas didn't get to do much because Lucas got his arm ripped off. And Lucas had this whole thing where if they died, they got uploaded into the mainframe and blew everything up. So,
You say blowing everything up. That was also an option.
yeah, why didn't
I
Lucas
had an option of like having the reactor start going into overload
that's
from
yeah.
Lucas.
Like Lucas's
Bro.
end goal, I guess, from my perspective, what I knew was that Lucas was supposed to set the reactors to detonate.
Okay. If you're
Blowing up
an
the whole
NPC
thing.
moving around, so if
Yeah.
you're a PC moving around, that was your motivation. He's no longer that. He's out of play. So once he's out of play, like he can't do as much. So that was like the other action, yeah. So
Yeah.
setting the ship on like to blow up is an action as well. And if you have that, it's like, oh my god, let's get to the escape pod, and then find it. He's locked it. Shit.
Lucas was doing so well.
The
I
other
was so
thing
proud of
is
Lucas.
the pirates is also a way out, a way off the ship. Or you could just like, in theory, you could negotiate with pirates and like whatnot, and
You can negotiate with
yeah,
pirates.
you can negotiate with
Parlay.
pirates. There was $1 million in there on that ship.
There's a million.
Yeah,
There
Laurie
was $1 million
Clayton.
in the
Not anymore.
in the safe that was in the corporate
Yeah,
quarters.
for bribes, yeah.
You know what's
Yeah.
best? Like we started with a single small solid crew, and like we didn't like really like each other, barely knew each other. But
I
it was like,
love you
okay, we're
guys.
trying to work together. And
So good.
we started kind of having some sense of like we kind of naturally split into two duos, and it all went to fucking space.
Yeah.
Like I was like, Vanessa's my boss. I better have develop a good relationship with my boss. And
But that's
I lost a friend.
There's the rivals, rivals and
Yeah.
allies.
The
system.
rivals were pretty like.
I didn't really get to
at least-
experience them.
Who was
like-
your rival?
My
Cham-
I
rivals
don't
just
think
weren't
Chad
there.
had one.
Cham didn't have a rival, and Cham had a buddy that wasn't there either.
What? Look,
Wait, you had
I was your
rivals?
buddy.
Yeah. Some people have
For
rivals.
the main part, I was
Okay.
gonna play Lucas as like I was gonna set the reactor to blow, and then I was gonna get Chev into a escape pod. That was my plan.
Oh,
Because
like,
Lucas was like, we can fix him. I can fix him.
Okay, I
fix
just
him.
noticed something. I had checked the character sheet before, and I never realized that it says here, Buddy Miller. Like, I swear I didn't know that was meant to be.
No, you played
Yeah,
that.
we split.
well, that's
We
yeah.
split from like buddies to like the two sets of buddies like split up.
yeah.
Yeah,
See, that's
I
the
didn't
only
have
I
a
survived,
rival.
so I guess it kind of makes sense.
I do like that buddy and rival on the like as a character as
Yeah.
another guide of like, hey, this is your best friend. This is someone you don't like. Even if they're in
It
your
was
friend
nice.
group, this is what you don't like.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to bring this up is that I'm also looking at Tales from the Loop at the moment, which I might run with you guys as well, but I'm also going to be running with Circus. But they run the same system, as in it's the same Mutant Year Zero system. Little bit of changes, no stress, but they have like relationships chart on the character sheet as well. And so everybody in the group has like, this is what you think about each person in the group as a relationship. I think that's a really nice way of going, this is how to guide your interactions type thing. They don't have the rival and buddy thing, but they do have that style of thing in there still.
Which would be counterproductive in the more traditional D&D, because like usually you want the party to just try their best at working together and not develop rivalries, because it may just make the DM's job a lot harder.
Do you?
No, I think
you don't
you
want to
want
split
them
the
to
party
have
because
like
then the party dies. You want people to help each other because it's a cooperative game, and some roleplay challenges may come up, but like you don't want PvP to happen either.
I don't know. I like having a bit of a story dynamic and such. The party doesn't have to perfectly get along.
Buddies and rivals.
Oh, they never do.
Have to be like equal buddies and rivals. It can just be, this is the person I like the best, and this is the person I like the least. Doesn't mean we're not friends. It just means I like the other people.
It just means two people are hanging on a ledge, and I can only save one. I know who I'm saving.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
Yeah. There is something in this like the GM when the GM is the person that calls PvP. Like if that comes to a thing, it's the GM that calls the PvP if it comes to a head. But after that, someone's losing a character. Someone's character is taken away and they can become an NPC. Even if they survive, they're an NPC after that. So that's the thing as well. This is also a game where death is an escape. And that's actually from the rules. It actually says the core rules that death is an escape from the stress and from like the terror and the horror. So it's not in the first time we played it, we had someone actually deliberately blow up the other ship to try to help people, because they thought the alien was on that ship and they blew it up to try to take them out. So it's not a system where you're always like trying to do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing is to self-sacrifice, is to have your character die. To either protect your friends, protect your buddies.
Then we'll go down in history.
Protect like a company, even protect the earth, or like sometimes that's the thing. It's a very, very different mindset, I think, compared to like the
Chan was
D&D
gonna
just
die for his buddies.
Yeah.
Then we'll go down in history.
Yeah.
Greatest man alive.
Any last thoughts before we wrap this up, or unless there's another topic I've totally missed?
I think we covered it all, man.
No, I think we're good.
Pretty solid.
Again, totally stuffed up the critical role table, which that's again stuff. Combat's often the most complex thing, and stuff that went up.
We don't need that.
So
it's fine.
Yeah. So if you're not understanding, you've missed what I explained in the last episode, because it's possibly going to be when you go down to 0 hit points, you start rolling a critical table. The critical table could be you're fine, but every time you take a hit again, you roll again and again, and you can get bad. The aliens can do specific rolls off that critical table, though, as one of their moves. So you automatically hit that critical table on that roll. Like getting your arm ripped off.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice. Like, the aliens are meant to be, like, super powerful and such, and that works.
It's scary as heck.
I mean, that one kind of flopped real hard to our luck, but like we could see the dice pool. Like, oh my god!
Yeah,
I was scared shitless from that monster. I was pretty sure what was gonna happen was I was gonna die trying to kill it, and the others would survive because I stayed behind to kill it with the incinerator. But we got extremely lucky.
Yeah. So they're rolling upwards of 10 dice. I was able to find the character sheets for them. and get it set up as a character sheet this time. We didn't for the previous. But it seems that when I was putting in, the weak attacks have more dice, the stronger attacks have less dice.
Okay.
Just to, like, as a balance of that. So first strike or fifth strike. Hey, welcome in, Raiders. We're having a wrap-up chat about our Alien game, which we've just concluded. So welcome on in. Have you ever played Alien RPG? It's really, really cool. I was just saying, so the dice on each attack is different. So the fifth strike is like 10 base damage, but an arm pull also 10 base dice to actually attack with, but like the arm pull only has 6. And I think there's like the head crush. Oh, the head crush has 7. So that was the big number 6 on which random attack they use. So it's kind of like each attack has a different amount, but also has different consequences. And each monster, the alien and the abomination, they each have like I'm going to roar and not actually attack anyone, but do a panic roll and see if you drop your weapon. Or do a panic roll and run away, and that's the person with the weapon, and the other people are like what am I going to do? So that's one of the things that I think I do like, that D6 on the character sheet. I don't have to choose which thing to do. I don't want to, like, I think games should have that as an attack thing. Like, from a GM's point of view, I don't like always, I'm going to use this attack on someone because it's optimal. Just 1d6, it could be just a roar, or it could be a throw them out into space. Or spike them with the tail or something like that.
Yeah.
Were the character sheets easy to figure out?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's for me.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I mean, single
Once you-
page.
Once you knew
the
where everything
buttons
was,
work well.
yeah.
Helps with the abstraction. It's all there.
They were very intuitive, coming from other systems, being like the armor and resources were just at the bottom of the page. But once you found them, they were easy to use.
Yeah.
The cards weren't.
Oh, there was one thing I wanted to do. The resource management. Like the oxygen check
Yeah,
and
I
the
think
battery check.
Yeah, I like those.
Yeah.
I don't. It feels
Adds a
weird.
bit more. What's it called?
So when you're exploring a ship and you're in like your spacesuit and you know there's nothing there, having to do a check to is my oxygen running down lower and lower? So,
Yeah, I don't like random effects on resource management. I thought that was a really weird choice for the narrative.
I kind of liked it, but it definitely forced another element on a situation that already had a lot of those.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was 100% needed in this scenario.
Did it add stress to your play
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
when you're exploring the ship in a spacesuit, knowing there's no oxygen on the ship, knowing that, thinking, oh crap, we need to actually find what's going on quickly, because every time you fail that dice roll, it goes down by 1, and you're running out of oxygen, or even finding other suits. Like that. I mean, I think the purpose of that is to limit resources and give that extra stress. Just like when you do a panic on your shooting of a gun, we're not tracking ammunition. You just run out of ammo because you just panicked and shot all the ammo, or there's something like that. I think that might be a way of doing things on that. But I think that we've actually covered everything. Sorry about that, Raiders, but welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid, and thank you for the follows. Our alert system isn't turned on at the moment, but yeah, so I think that's everything. I think our next game, Drakonyan's not going to be here. We have another player coming in. Chops is going to join us for that one. Next week we're going to have a week off so we can do our meeting and get prepped for it. But we're going to be playing in 2 weeks' time Pendragon 6th edition, which is going to be the quick start. The starter set's coming up next month, from what I hear from Chaosium. But we're going to be doing it in a different style to this. We're going to be doing Monty Python. So if you think we're going to take things seriously, no. Look, I played this earlier this year, and it's going to be short. We might be able to do, it might be one session, might be two. But the idea is to break away from the stress dice and the stress of the audio, whatnot. You guys didn't hear the audio mostly. At least we didn't have it mostly playing this week. Did it affect your gameplay in the previous weeks? I think it was mostly prominent on the first week, the first act. Anything at all? No.
Not really,
Okay.
no.
I know Silenscape kind of blocks it sometimes. Also, Zoom kind of blocks the audio sometimes. And I've got an audio visual glitch above me. Well, that's weird. But yeah, I think that's about it. We'll do our wrap-ups and we'll raid someone. But thank you, raiders, for coming in. But we'll raid someone else and share the love. Alien RPG, if you have never played it, and if you do role-playing games, I recommend it. I think it's really good fun. And Zaraeea, do you recommend it?
Yeah, I like it.
Do you, Atro?
Yeah, it's a fun, very short horror thing that's mostly about you dying a lot, so.
And where can we find you and all your bits and pieces? And
You can find me basically anywhere with the name on the screen, Zaraeea. Yeah, Twitch, Twitter, whatever. Basically, same name, same spelling. Yeah. I played Wilson this session, and I hope to play characters with a bit more room for shenanigans in the future.
I think the next thing is going to be far more shenanigans.
Shenanigans!
And
Shenanigans.
I'm even going to invest in a coconut.
So lie.
Because there's horses, and we all know that coconuts are the best horses.
But how do you get into coconut to there?
Well, you got to fly it,
African
of
and
course.
European swallow.
Anyway, Goblin, do you recommend the game?
I'm here for it.
Yes, for fans of Alien, the movie and stuff, it does recreate it fairly well. For people that have a problem with dice pools, I would not recommend it because I think dice pools are one of the most flawed ways of doing random number generation. And yeah. Other than that, it's a good system, but if you don't like dice pools, then you will not like this one because it's very heavy on dice pool. But I'm also an electronic musician. You can check out my music at SoundCloud/Dr. And I was playing today. What was my name again? Clayton, the corporate jerk who left everyone on the ship.
Again.
I got to betray everyone.
It's still dead, though, so.
Well, may have died, may have survived.
Died. I like to think
That's how it was left last time too.
Well, Leah might have survived the hail of bullets in the corridor and become a pirate afterwards and been recruited.
Sounds like her, actually.
Maybe I want
Yeah.
to be a pirate.
I don't think I survived. I was not good to survive.
No, all you did was run away.
All I was able to do was run away. I had no skills.
You had medical
pathetic.
skills. Medical skills.
You've just done better.
Oh, I mean, I wanted to take away the Marine from the party just to have something in the background of, like, where is it? That hidden thing. In theory, you could actually end up playing the Marine.
I wanted to play the medic because I thought they could have done something, like had comm skills or something. They didn't even have that.
Draconian, would you recommend the game?
Oh, absolutely. I think the system is solid. It is unique enough, and it's very easy to pick and play. And if you're looking for a game that is not lighthearted but gets you on the edge in multiple ways and makes you scream at your friends around the table, perhaps make you question how much of a friend they actually are to you until the session is over and you're like, oh right, I actually like this guy a lot. Then that is certainly the game that you should be looking for. If you think D&D 5e is a bit too colorful, go for Alien RPG, I guess. I recommend it. Big fan of Alien, big fan of horror, big fan of sci-fi horror, and yeah, it works really well. And I'm Drakonyan. I'm a professional dungeon master. You can find me as Drakonyan Asker. That's Drakonyan with a K and a Y, and Asker with a Z and a K. Or Drakonyan number 2883 on Discord, where I'm more easily accessible. And I had a blast playing Leah Davis, the only character who survived from beginning to end in this adventure, and I feel like a hero, honestly. Even though I didn't save anything.
What would you be playing this for? Would you be running this for your clients?
Oh yes, I would certainly recommend that, especially this Chariot of the Gods. Like if I could get enough players to play through this, or like if they didn't know it, that would be a blast to run. It could certainly work as a 3-session or maybe 4-session module for a one-off.
Yeah, it's certainly like Act 1 should be a session. Act 2, I feel that's the pacing.
Yeah.
OblivionShay, would you recommend the game?
Yeah, especially for like those newer players, like fellow players have said, it was like really good to kind of give them that straight guidance of being like, this is your friends, this is what you should be role playing like, and giving you the straight motivation that maybe some other characters in like 5e or other things, the background system really kind of fails on that. But at least for myself, I'm OblivionShay. You can find me there on Twitch. Also, most recently, I was on S3 Technologies Twitch page, helping put on esports tournaments. So you can find me there as well.
Ooh. Yeah, that's it for this week. We'll be not on next week for this group. We might be on doing Tales from the Loop, which actually is the same system. It might be a sub-only game because we're testing back-end systems because we're changing everything in the back-end for the studio, but it should be able to do amazing things. I'm failing to find a good place to raid, so we might not actually do a raid. There's those reasons, but anyway. But thank you everyone for coming in. Thank you so much for the raid. So I'll just shout out who it was because I'll get that up on the screen because I messed it up. High Shelf Collective, thank you so much for sharing your community with us. And thank you, 20 sides to every story for the follow as well. We're having some fun. We've got a few projects in the works. We're not doing the 3 shows that we normally do, but we do have a lot of stuff in the background that we're trying to get up to normal. So thank you everyone for coming in. Thank you everyone for playing. And pirates. Also, always never expect the pirates in the end.
Always pirates.
Kind of like the Spanish Inquisition.
Pirates.
Well, Spanish Inquisition is Monty Python, so I'm trying to figure out how the hell am I going to put them in to Pendragon 6th edition. Because how the fuck am I going to do that? But anyway, thank you everyone. Let's head out. Bye.
Bye.